Hold on, I just want to make sure this is recording. First of all, I was a guidance counselor in Little Haiti for 2 years. And I had parents, Little Haiti's in Miami, by the way. I had parents and students crying their 5th grade year to make sure that their students could get into the charter schools in the district, despite the fact, because the charter schools were higher performing, despite the fact that the public educational expenditures were higher. So I guess I'm just trying to understand exactly what your solutions are, because in the same breath you said you're anti-government, but then you're also anti-privatization. So I don't understand what your solutions are specifically for the African American community, where you know, whatever you were saying earlier about how we're not able to compete, those numbers are even more stark in the Black community. So again, you said you're anti-government and you're also anti-privatization. So what are your solutions?
Well, you know, the thing is, what we need to do is we need to invest more in the public schools. When you say people are dying into the charter schools, what you're saying...
The expenditures are higher in the inner city, but we're still not getting the results.
And here's the truth about the charter schools. Here's the truth about the charter schools, and it's all been researched, and you can find it. They select their students, and they're not doing better. So you go look at the Stanford study from this year about charter schools. They are not doing better. But here's the problem. Look, here's the problem. If you say to me in Chicago, and a parent will say to me, I would like to get a good education for my kids. I noticed that there's a military school over here, and they seem to be doing better. I'll choose the military school. I don't want the military school, but it's the only chance I have. I'm sympathetic to people who feel that their chances and their choices are narrow. Why can't we allow broader choices and keep these things in the public domain? Why are we privatizing schools? Why are we privatizing the fire department?
They're showing results for kids who look like me.
They're not showing results.
They are showing results.
No, they're not showing results.
I sent my students to charter schools where they were able to compete.
Look, Arnie Duncan, listen, let me just tell you this, and we can check it out, but Arnie Duncan has gone to Washington, D.C., famous for turning around Chicago failing schools, correct? And you remember Rod, what was his name in the Bush administration? The Secretary of Education, Rod Page went to Washington with the Texas Miracle, remember? And the Texas Miracle was he had shown us how to do these public schools, right? And what was the outcome? 2 years later, somebody actually investigated and found that it was complete fraud. They were testing different kids. They were pushing kids away who tested poorly. So Arnie Duncan is famous for turning around a couple of Chicago high schools, correct? One of the high schools he turned around is Orr High School. And here's the reality in Orr High School. They're testing different kids than they start off with. So they say 100% to college. You send 100% to college, except they push out 50% of the kids. Yeah. So it's a fraud. And it's a fraud you want to look into before you invest too much in it. You ought to look into what the problems are and how they manifest themselves. There are a couple of people here who were principals in the New York City school system who created unbelievably successful schools. How did they do that? Well, and they did it with ordinary kids. And they did it by creating an environment that was safe, an environment that was accepting, an environment that was challenging as well as nourishing, and they worked closely with parents. They were small schools in which every kid was known well by a caring adult. If you can manage that, and you can manage that in the public system, there's no reason to say, well, the private works better. Well, there is no evidence that the private works better. Okay, I get you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, in a minute. First. Go ahead.
I didn't ask a question.
You probably succeeded beyond your wildest imagination.
In what sense?
Listening to you tonight, what I'm hearing from you is that you have to question authority.
Exactly.
And the boundaries are any boundaries can be broken down. What I would suggest to you is, as a result of this philosophy, you've created a generation of children who can't sit in the classroom because they're busy questioning authority. The teacher is an authority figure, just as the government is trying to make it not as excuse me, I'm speaking now, thank you. And that's the reason why, my wife is a teacher for about 35 years. That's the reason she taught prior in parochial school and now in the public school. That is the reason why society is falling apart.
They're not robots. And yet here we are, we're all sitting here, quietly, respectful.
I guess, Mr. Ayers, I was confused. Sorry, I am a teacher. I'm currently teaching. I've taught for quite a long time. I've also been a parent. I've also been a member of a board of education for 9 years. So I kind of have a unique perspective. I've seen education from a lot of different angles. And I'm a current practicing educator. And I agree with you that our schools are failing our children in the United States of America. We've already studied it. It's at the bottom of the heap among all the developed countries. But my problem is this. The system that you are saying can fix the problem has been creating the problem, in my opinion, for many, many years. In New Jersey, and perhaps you're not too familiar with what goes on in New Jersey, I'll give you a thumbnail of what's going on in New Jersey. In New Jersey, the Abbott district, that's our court decision for the failing urban district. In Newark, it costs $30,000 a student to educate. In some of the suburban areas, it costs half that price. So if money fixes the problem, then why are all the urban schools failing? And after decades of this going on in New Jersey, and I have a film for you to watch too, which